everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the JT Sports Podcast. I'm your host, JT. Just a quick disclaimer. I tweak some of the settings with the microphone, so if you're listening to this on YouTube, just comment below how the quality is sounding. Does it sound better? Does it sound worse? Does it sound the same? Because what I love the most to do is talk about football, and sometimes my love and passion for doing this can kind of come off as me yelling at you at times. So I just alter some of the microphone settings so it's a more smoother listen, especially if you consume this on Apple and Spotify. But it currently is Friday morning on the East Coast, 3:49 a.m. at the time I'm recording this. And I woke up out of the middle of my sleep and hopped on here because something that I wanted to get off my chest is how it really irritates me how the Steelers are getting hated on for doing the right thing, which is putting together the best team possible to give themselves the best chance to win to the best of their ability. And it confuses me how the Steelers trying to win is a bad thing. Because with the Steelers' shortcomings in the first round of the playoffs over the last couple of years, it's perceived that the Steelers just need to rebuild, trade everybody, and start over, get a bunch of draft picks, and increase their chances of landing a franchise-changing quarterback in the draft. But the flaw with that logic is that tanking doesn't guarantee that the Steelers' fate in the playoffs is going to change. You have a higher probability of drafting Anthony Richardson or a Kenny Pickett in the first round at quarterback than you do of landing the next Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, or Lamar Jackson. And great franchises in the NFL, the Eagles, the Rams, Ravens, Chiefs, what they all have in common is that they don't intentionally tank when things aren't working out. Because there's no difference between the Steelers continuing to lose in the first round of the playoffs and the Bills and the Ravens continuing to fall short of winning a Super Bowl. The only difference is that the Steelers season ends a lot quickly than what the Bills and the Ravens season do. And only one team can win the Super Bowl. So therefore, if you make it to the Super Bowl and you lose it, then your season ended the same way that the Steelers did and everybody else's that didn't win the Super Bowl. You fell to win a Lombardi trophy. And that's the ultimate goal. That's what defines what's a successful season and what's a disappointing season for every team in the NFL. So just because the Steelers have lost in the first round of the playoffs for nearly a decade doesn't mean that they should just blow it all up. Because trading away all of the Steelers' best players for draft picks, if they were to do that and they whiff on all of those picks, then they essentially just set their franchise back 4 or 5 more years from being able to contend for a Super Bowl. If you trade away TJ Watt and you get 2 first-round picks for him, if you're not able to draft a Pro Bowl caliber player or a player that is just as good, if not better than TJ Watt, then your team just got a lot worse. And it's flawed thinking to trade proven commodities for unproven commodities that could be a lot worse and even decrease your chances of being able to get back to a Super Bowl. And when the Browns were trying to rebuild a few years ago when they first hired Hugh Jackson and they went full analytics, they took this approach. They traded away all of their best players. They got all of these draft picks and they whiffed on the majority of those selections, and they still are in the same situation that they were prior to taking that route, trying to tank. They got Baker Mayfield, the first overall pick, and a few years later, they ended up trading him away. Then they get Deshaun Watson, and then all of a sudden, they end up being a lot worse with Deshaun than what they were with Baker Mayfield, who they tanked to get. Tanking in the NFL is not the solution to becoming a Super Bowl contender. Yeah, you may be able to become a playoff team, but there's no guarantee that tanking is going to net the Steelers being able to win another Super Bowl. Nobody in the history of the NFL has ever won a championship by deconstructing their team, starting completely over. It doesn't work. When the Buccaneers were coming up short in the early 2000s with Tony Dungy, did they just blow it all up because they kept on getting the same results? No, they kept that team. They got rid of Tony Dungy. They traded for John Gruden. And in John Gruden's first year coaching the Buccaneers, guess what happened? They won a Super Bowl. The Philadelphia Eagles, they didn't just blow it all up when they were struggling with Andy Reid. Eventually, they fired him. They got Chip Kelly, and they went 10-6 his first 2 seasons. And eventually, he got canned. But you get the point. Good franchises don't have to rebuild to win a Super Bowl, and you definitely don't need to tank and potentially suck to get a franchise quarterback in the first round when 3 of the 4 best quarterbacks in the league, Lamar, Mahomes, Josh Allen, their teams traded up to get them. So if the Chiefs, the Ravens, and the Bills can trade up for their franchise quarterback, why can't the Steelers do the same? You have just as good as a chance landing an elite quarterback with a top 5 pick as what you do with a pick in the middle or late portion of the draft. When it comes to drafting and developing a quarterback, there really is no science to it. It is somewhat random. And unless Arch Manning is coming out, there really is no purpose in tanking for this season because other than him, all of the other quarterbacks in the 2026 draft class, there's a strong chance that they aren't that good. Drew Aller isn't good. Garrett Nussmeier could be really promising. Same thing with Lenore Sellers, who I want the Steelers to draft. But if the Steelers want to get their guy, they can just trade up for him. They have multiple first-round picks that they can give up. There are several teams that have been able to land the franchise quarterback without having to tank for one. If you are a good franchise, then you can identify talent anywhere in the draft, rather it be in the first, second, or third round. The 49ers drafted Brock Purdy with the last pick of the draft, and he led them to a Super Bowl. So if the 49ers can land a franchise quarterback and the last pick of the draft, then the Steelers can land a franchise quarterback with anybody that they choose to draft in the first round next year without having to destroy their team to do so. I'm not a believer in deconstructing a team that consistently produces 9 wins or better that has just fallen short in the first round of the playoffs because getting to the playoffs is not an easy feat. So if you are getting to the playoffs routinely, why not continue to add more talent to that team to further increase your chances versus starting all over and risking holding yourselves back an additional half a decade to being a contender for a Super Bowl? The logic just doesn't make sense. Terry McLaurin just came off an all-pro season. He played a large part in the success that Jaden Daniels' rookie season was, and the Commanders turn around their franchise, making it 1 game short of the NFC Championship. And you know how the Commanders are rewarding him? By doing him dirty in his contract negotiations, by choosing to sign Grandpa Von Miller instead of extending him. And Terry McLaurin deserves to get paid. And he's not asking to break the market and become the highest paid receiver in the NFL. He understands that he's not Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. And he is reportedly seeking around $30 million per season. And if DK Metcalf is getting paid $33 million per year and Garrett Wilson is getting $32.5 million per season, then Terry McLaurin is definitely justified to seek around $34 million a season because he's better than both DK Metcalf and Garrett Wilson. And the fact that the Washington Commanders are doing him dirty, ghosting him, going MIA in contract talks, it's just really bad business in my opinion. You should not be treating one of the best players that your franchise has had in over a decade this way When you think of the Washington Commanders before they got Jaden Daniels, you thought of Terry McLaurin. That was the only player that anybody could name on this team before last season kicked off. When you have a team captain, a leader, and a big impact player for your squad that's seeking this kind of money and he's produced at a high level, it makes you look really bad. And it makes your franchise look a little bit snobby. Because why are you being stingy with paying Terry McLaurin, who has been a top 10, top 12 receiver in the league, and you don't want to pay him what he's asking for, but you want to go and you want to sign Von Miller before paying him? That doesn't make a lot of sense. It would make more sense to pay Terry McLaurin and then assess your salary cap situation and then go sign other guys. Because now, with you signing Von Miller, you got even less money to allocate to what Terry McLaurin is asking for. And if the Washington Commanders are feeling this way about Terry McLaurin and they don't know if he's worth the money that he's asking for, then they should just go ahead and trade him. And this will be a worse team without Terry McLaurin than what it is with him on it. As good as what Jaden Daniels is, he can make up for certain limitations like what he did last year, not having a good offensive line, the ground game being a little bit up and down at times, but he can't make up for having nobody's at wide receiver. If you take Terry McLaurin off of the Washington Commanders, they have nobody else that's a serviceable wide receiver one. Noah Brown is a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 at best. Luke McCaffrey, haven't seen much of what he's able to do. The Commanders are not in the position to be playing hardball with the second-best player on their team that's going to make or break if this team is able to take that next step this season. And 2, with Jaden Daniels being in his second season and the concerns about him possibly having a sophomore slump, you will want him to be throwing to Terry McLaurin. So the Washington Commanders choosing to do Terry McLaurin the way that they are with these dirty negotiation tactics, it's just really idiotic. Pay this man what the hell he's asking for because he is worth the money. If you don't want to pay Terry McLaurin, please trade him to the Pittsburgh Steelers and we will have no problem giving this brother what he's asking for. There are plenty of teams right now like the Steelers, the Patriots, that could use a receiver of Terry McLaurin's caliber and they won't hesitate to pay him. It's not like the dude is 33, 34 years old. He's 29. He'll be 30 in the next month or so. But hitting the age of 30 doesn't automatically mean that Terry McLaurin is going to decline. A player of Terry McLaurin's caliber isn't all of a sudden going to decline once he hits 30 because he's an elite talent. And elite players regress at a slower rate than the average player at their position. And when you got an overrated receiver like DK Metcalf making 33 per season, Terry McLaurin has a right to say, hey, I'm better than this dude. I should be getting more than him. And I thought that the Commanders really turned the corner with their new ownership and their new general manager, Adam Peters. But this situation right now makes me feel a lot lower on the Commanders than what I did before these negotiations first took place. You knew that Terry McLaurin was up for a new contract before last season started. And he's done nothing but produced every single year. The guy has had 1,000 yards receiving for the last 5 seasons that he has been in the league. He's been just as consistent as what Mike Evans has been. And you didn't see the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing hardball with Mike Evans money. Good franchises take care of their best players. And that's why it's dirty how the Commanders are choosing to do Terry McLaurin right now. You're not going to pay Terry McLaurin, but you're going to sign old-ass Von Miller? What are we even doing right now? Prior to last season, Justin Jefferson was viewed as the best receiver in the NFL. But after Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown, leading the NFL in receiving yards, receptions, and touchdowns, there now is a debate over who's the better of the two. Are you going to take Jamar Chase or are you going to take Justin Jefferson? Now, Justin Jefferson is more of a technician than what Jamar Chase is. He's a better route runner. He just is more nuanced with playing the position than what Jamar Chase is. Now, Jamar Chase isn't too far off from being the route runner and the technician that Jay Jettis is, but he's more so of a freak of nature. He's just a force. He's just a better pure athlete than what Justin Jefferson is. And to me, right now, the Justin Jefferson versus Jamar Chase debate isn't really one of merit anymore because Jamar Chase has proven, based off what he did last season, that he's the best receiver in the NFL and he's better than Justin Jefferson at the moment because Jamar Chase can just do more than what Justin Jefferson is able to do. Justin Jefferson isn't going to give you the explosiveness after the catch like what Jamar Chase does. Jamar Chase, when he gets the football in his hands, he essentially turns into a running back. Not only is he hard to bring down, but he's also incredibly physical. He can run you over. He can make you miss with elusiveness. And he also is really good at coming down with 50-50 balls, winning contested catches. That's not really part of Justin Jefferson's game, really. Justin Jefferson isn't really able to beat you with physicality. He more so is going to beat you off of technique and being fundamentally sound at the position. And that's what separates Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. Jamar Chase is just your prototypical X receiver. He's the ultimate athlete, and he also is a really good technician. So you get the best of everything with Jamar Chase. He's just a more dynamic wide receiver than what Justin Jefferson is right now, which is why the wide receiver one debate between him and Jay Jettis isn't really a debate anymore. Now, Justin Jefferson isn't no squirrel. I'm not trying to make him out to be one because every season that he's been in the NFL, when he's been fully healthy, he's had at least 1,400 receiving yards. He right now has over 7,000 career receiving yards right now. And within 3-4 years from now, he'll go down as one of the best receivers all time, and he'll be an unquestioned first ballot Hall of Famer. Jamar Chase has a little bit of some ground to make up, but if we are just talking about raw skills, if I were to ask you, you had to drive either Jamar or Justin Jefferson to be your wide receiver one, who are you taking? Are you not going to take the guy that's the better athlete? Because the NFL is all about athleticism. Yes, technique and how skilled you are at the position you play does matter. But when you have somebody that is an elite athlete and also a really good technician, you're going to take the guy that is more athletic. Because when you just have the kind of athleticism that Jamar Chase has, it just makes you impossible to cover as a receiver at times. It adds a different element to your game to where you can just do everything. And Jamar Chase is also better built than what Justin Jefferson is. Jamar Chase is like 205. Jay Jettis is around 195 pounds. And Jamar Chase doesn't really get injured that much. Justin Jefferson is more injured more frequently than what Jamar is because he's more lanky. He's a little bit more skinnier. Jamar Chase is just built like he's playing running back. If you were to move Jamar Chase to running back, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. He has that kind of size. He's built, which is what makes him a bowling ball in the open field. That's why he generates so much yak. If you're a defensive back, you rather tackle Justin Jefferson than having to tackle Jamar Chase, because Jamar Chase is just so physical and how he plays the game to where you really don't want to see that. You rather line up against Justin Jefferson and get routed up than having to line up against Jamar Chase, having to worry about getting routed up, and then also having to try to bring this big-ass dude down, having to tackle him. So, as good as what Justin Jefferson has been, Jamar Chase has surpassed him at the moment. Now, Justin Jefferson can make up some ground, and Justin Jefferson also hasn't had a top 3 quarterback throwing him the football. But I really think when you use the whole, well, he has this guy throwing to him argument, it doesn't really hold that much weight. Because if you're a good receiver, then you make whoever you have throwing the football look better than what they actually are. DeAndre Hopkins was one of the premier receivers in his prime when he was playing with the Texans, with Brock Osweiler and whoever else he had at quarterback, until he got Deshaun Watson. So if you're a good receiver, it doesn't matter who you have throwing you the football. So it's not as if Justin Jefferson had scrubs throwing him the ball. He had Kirk Cousins, who was a really good quarterback at his peak. And he recently had Sam Darnold, who had the best season of his career. He was an MVP candidate for the majority of last year. So give me Jamar Chase over Justin Jefferson. I think that the debate is kind of over right now. Travis Hunter is going to be able to play both ways in the NFL at a high level. He's going to be able to be not just an all-pro receiver, but an all-pro cornerback as well, because the NFL isn't ready for the monster that Travis Hunter is going to be, because the NFL has never seen a player like Travis Hunter before. We've had guys come into the league like Charles Woodson and Jabril Peppers that played both ways, but neither one of those guys were as dominant on the offensive side of the football as what Travis Hunter was at Colorado. And what's getting ignored about Travis Hunter is how when he was at Colorado playing for Dion the past 2 years, he essentially was conditioning and training himself to dominate both ways there, because playing in Colorado is incredibly difficult with how difficult it is to breathe with the land there being 5,400 feet above sea level. And for Travis Hunter to play both receiver and cornerback at the level that he did at Colorado, not really needing a lot of breaks, shows the peak conditioning that he has. If you can play both ways in that kind of altitude, you're going to be able to play both ways without getting fatigued that much anywhere else that you go. Playing in those kinds of conditions in Colorado gave Travis Hunter the training that he needed to be an all-pro corner and receiver for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And on offense, which is mainly what Travis Hunter is going to be playing due to Liam Cohen being an offensive-minded head coach, you aren't going to have too many defenses that are going to be able to guard both him and Brian Thomas Jr., so he won't be going up against the majority of the NFL's best corners. He most likely will be going up against a team's cornerback 2, cornerback 3, depending on if Liam Cohen wants to play him in the slot. And even if a team wants to get bold enough to put their number one corner on Travis Hunter to try to tire him out, then Brian Thomas Jr. is just going to destroy whoever you have lined up against them. And on defense, if your strategy is we're just going to throw a bunch of deep bombs at Travis Hunter to tire him out, that's a losing strategy. One thing that you don't want to do is test the guy that has the best ball skills in the history of any draft prospect that has entered the league. Travis Hunter's ball skills are out of this world. If you want to test them and you just want to see just how much conditioning and how much he's able to go without needing breaks, go ahead and do so, and he's going to make you pay. My prediction for Travis Hunter this season is that not only is he going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, but he also is going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And at that point, with him winning both of the awards, he more than likely is going to end up winning MVP, because if Travis Hunter dominates both ways, let's say he gets 900 receiving yards, 11 touchdowns, and then on defense he gets 4 or 5 interceptions, he essentially would have been the definition of what it means to be the most valuable player, because you're impacting the game on both sides of the football. That far exceeds the impact that any quarterback will have. If I can lock you down on defense and then a few plays later come out and route you up and score on you as a receiver, I'm an unstoppable force. Travis Hunter is going to revolutionize the NFL with the level of play that he's going to have playing both ways. People think this is going to be able to be easily replicated when it's not going to. Because Deion Sanders at Colorado was able to prepare Travis Hunter for this with the conditions that he had to play in. And in the NFL, it's going to help that Travis Hunter is going to play less plays than what he did when he was in college, because the NFL on average runs 23 plays less than what they do in college. And in college, it's a faster, more up-tempo game with the no-huddle offenses. In the NFL, you're huddling up, so Travis Hunter gets at least like 15 to 30 seconds to catch his breath if he does get a little bit winded at times. Playing in the NFL is better going to help Travis Hunter dominate more than what he did in college. And you can see Travis Hunter be a lot better as a receiver and a cornerback now with the way the game is played at the pro level than what it was collegiately. And that's why Travis Hunter is going to be able to dominate the NFL on both sides of the ball. Now, is he going to have some games where he struggles if he's going up against a Jamar Chase or a DK Metcalf? Yeah, of course, but Jamar Chase gives every cornerback that he goes up against problems. But that doesn't mean that Travis Hunter is just going to get bullied and they're going to be running whoever offense on Travis Hunter. If Travis Hunter needs a break, he's going to be more than willing to tap his helmet, come out for a few plays, because he is trying to win. He's not going out there to prove a point that he can play every snap and not get tired. He still wants to help the team win, and he's not going to stay in the game if he knows that he's going to be a liability at times because he's tired and he's unable to keep up with somebody. Travis Hunter is something that the NFL has never seen and isn't prepared to handle, because you've never seen something like this. And people always fear what they don't know. And they don't know what Travis Hunter is completely capable of. You have to stop trying to put Travis Hunter in a box, making it seem like him playing both ways at an all-pro level is impossible, because nothing in this world is impossible. It just hasn't been proven to be possible yet. And Travis Hunter is a rare talent that the NFL coaches, NFL executives don't quite understand, because how can you understand something that you've never seen before? And that's why James Big Stones, as I call him, traded up the farm to get Travis Hunter, because this is a player that with his skill set completely can dictate the outcome of wins and losses to a degree that only a quarterback has the ability to do. The NFL really doesn't understand what Travis Hunter is, and that's why there's so much doubts about his abilities. But I believe Travis Hunter is going to have a phenomenal rookie season, and I think that he's going to be the first player ever to have a Hall of Fame career as both a receiver and a corner. You can call me delusional all you want to, but how do you really know when you've never seen something like this before? I was thinking of something earlier. You guys know how the last few seasons we've had quarterbacks like Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, and recently Sam Darnold resurrect their careers, going into a situation where you had a coaching staff that fully believed in them and a good supporting cast around them. Well, what if Justin Fields this season plays like how Sam Darnold did last year for the Minnesota Vikings? What if Justin Fields is the next quarterback to revive his career? Do you not know how good he will be, what he will look like? Essentially, if Justin Fields plays for the Jets like how Sam Darnold did on the Vikings last year, you are looking at a top 5 quarterback and somebody who possibly could be a finalist for an NFL MVP, because in Justin Fields' last 12 starts, not only has his accuracy improved, but his decision-making has gone better, his turnover numbers have gone down, and now in the situation that he's walking into with the Jets, which is the best one that he's been in up to this point in his career, he has an offensive line that has 3 first-round picks on it, a really good duo of Braylon Allen and Breece Hall at running back behind them, and the receiver in Garrett Wilson that he already has good chemistry with, dating back to his time at Ohio State, throwing to Garrett Wilson, and the offensive coordinator that comes from that Jim Harbaugh coaching tree, so you know that he's going to specialize in the ground game. Justin Fields is perfectly set up to have the kind of season for the Jets that Sam Darnold had in 2024 in Minnesota. And if that happens, Justin Fields could be good enough to elevate the Jets to being a playoff team and possibly competing for the AFC East. Because when it comes to talent, the Jets have arguably the best roster in this division. They are better than the Patriots. They're better than the Miami Dolphins. And they're just as good, if not better, than the Buffalo Bills. The New York Jets have drafted incredibly well. The only thing that has held this team back from being in the postseason has been poor quarterback play and poor coaching. And maybe they have to fix to both of those with Aaron Glenn and Justin Fields. Justin Fields is on the same level as what Lamar Jackson is in terms of traits and abilities. I'm not talking about in terms of talent when it comes to being able to throw the football and whatnot. We know that Lamar Jackson is in a different weight class than Justin Fields. I'm just talking about the physical traits, the size, the speed, the arm strength. Lamar and Justin Fields are in the same weight class in that department. You see Lamar in the open field, you're scared as hell if you're anybody. No matter what you are, a linebacker, a safety, a defensive lineman, tackling Lamar Jackson in the open field is a nightmare. Same thing with Justin Fields. A few seasons ago, this is a dude who ran for over 1,100 freaking yards. And what makes Justin Fields a bigger threat running the ball than Lamar is that he can make you miss with elusiveness like Lamar can, but he can power through you and run you flat the hell over because he's 225, 230 freaking pounds. And the Jets don't need Justin Fields to throw the football like he's Lamar. We know that there are certain limits to Justin Fields' ceiling. But Justin Fields, if he is a lot like Jalen Hurts is throwing the football, he has a really good deep ball. He's one of the best deep ball throwers in the league, at least over the last 3-4 years he's been. The issue is he just doesn't throw the ball with good anticipation. He's not great at reading defenses. But if the Jets are only asking Justin Fields to throw the ball, let's say 23, 25 times a game, that's a winning formula for him. And we've seen games when Justin Fields has shown the ability to be a good passer. 2 years ago, the dude was going off against Sean Payton and the Denver Broncos. The thing that eventually derailed him in Chicago was just that he was the worst fourth quarter quarterback in the National Football League from his time starting when he first entered the league until recently with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you see, the last 12 starts, though, Justin Fields has learned how to win. If he can just limit the turnovers, the Jets are going to have a really good quarterback on their hands. And right now, Justin Fields is in a career-defining year because right now he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And it pains me to say that, but he's a guy that's living off a few flash plays, a few glimpses of what he could be and potential, which is why he still gets a bunch of opportunities. But if he struggles with the New York Jets, then he's going to be nothing more but a guy who bounces around team to team every year. He's seen as just a bridge stopgap quarterback until you can find your long-term answer at that position. But if he's able to have a good season like what we saw Sam Darnold do last year, then the Jets just found their franchise quarterback and a quarterback that's good enough to help them possibly win a Super Bowl, because the AFC is home to gods at quarterback. The AFC is like DC. You have all kinds of superheroes that have these godlike abilities. You're going up against Lamar, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, all kinds of quarterbacks that have these incredible physical abilities. And the only way that you can be the alien is if you go get an alien of your own. And that's what Justin Fields is. It's just all about reeling that in. Can you somewhat make him a better rhythmatic thrower? Can you make him a lot better at throwing guys open? All these things can be improved, and we've seen Justin Fields improve. Hell, the dude won 5 games as a starter in Pittsburgh. He had the Steelers on top of the division until he just wrongly got benched. And Justin Fields was the Steelers' number one option at quarterback. Aaron Rodgers wasn't their number one option. It was Justin Fields, Matthew Stafford, then Aaron Rodgers. And they really did want him. And he ultimately picked the Jets, which was a good decision because it was weird how the Steelers chose to bench him despite him playing good football, despite him playing winning football, as I might add. And the Jets are an organization that is welcoming Justin Fields with open arms. And sometimes it takes a quarterback longer to figure it out than what it may a guy like a Josh Allen, a Patrick Mahomes, or a Lamar, who are good right after their rookie season, year 2, year 3. That's when they reach their peak. But maybe Justin Fields is just a slow bloomer or late bloomer, like how Alex Smith was. Alex Smith wasn't good until his 5th, 6th year in the league when he finally got a competent head coach. With Justin Fields being on the New York Jets, if he's able to power up, this is going to be a really dangerous team. And that's why the New York Jets are my biggest sleeper team entering this season, just because of Justin Fields. If he is able to do what we've seen quarterbacks do the last 3 years, which is definitely possible, there's going to be a quarterback who continues this trend, who revives their career in the right situation. We just saw Sam Darnold do it last year. We saw Baker Mayfield do it the year before that, after he was bouncing around between the Panthers and the LA Rams. At that point, you would have thought that Baker Mayfield would have never been as good as what he was last season. I'm just saying, if the Jets, with the situation that they have, are able to maximize Justin Fields' abilities, this is going to be a really dangerous team, a really formidable team. And Justin Fields, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in the MVP discussion. I'm going to give you guys my projections for the 5 teams that I believe are going to have the best passing offenses in the NFL, ranked in order, starting with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming in at number 5. The Buccaneers have the best receiving core in the NFL in terms of talent and depth. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin are one of the better receiver duos in the league. Then behind those guys, you got Jalen McMillan, who is coming off a really underrated rookie season. You got Emeka Egbuka, who you drafted in the first round, who you didn't really need. So you essentially have 4 or 5 capable wide receivers on your team, and 3 of them who have wide receiver 1 upside, and Godwin, who could have went to the Patriots for more money but chose to come back to Tampa for less. Mike Evans, who's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. Then you got Egbuka, who could have been a wide receiver 1 if he would have went to a team that was in need of one. And Jalen McMillan can be a very capable wide receiver 2. Baker Mayfield is coming off the best season of his career, 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, completed a career high 71.4% of his passes. This year, the Buccaneers offense should pick up from where they left off last year, despite them being on their 3rd OC and 3 seasons. I don't really see anything changing with this passing attack, with just the amount of talent that they have at receiver and Baker Mayfield playing his best football. Number 4, I have the Detroit Lions. Yes, they do lose Ben Johnson, but their new offensive coordinator, John Morton, already has familiarity with this roster. He was in Detroit back in 2022, and for 2023 and 2024, he served as the Broncos passing game coordinator under Sean Payton. And there really isn't going to be too many philosophical changes to this Lions offense. The only difference is you may see a few more different formations that Ben Johnson didn't really run, and they're going to be a little bit more aggressive stretching the field. And Jared Goff has had over 400 passing yards or 4,500 passing yards and at least 30 touchdowns in the past 2 seasons. He's been playing some of the best football that he's ever played, and eventually he could win NFL MVP. So with the new offensive coordinator that the Lions are bringing in, this is going to be a more explosive passing attack than what we've seen under Ben Johnson the last couple of years. And you got Jameson Williams, who should be able to have some really productive campaigns under John Morton. And then you still have St. Brown, who's the best slot receiver in the game. Sam Laporta's a really good tight end. And Jahmyr Gibbs also is a huge contributor in the passing game for Detroit. So I can see the Lions racking up the passing yards again this year. They were second in the NFL in pass yards per game last year, and I don't see them dropping off too much this year despite Ben Johnson going to the Bears. The Atlanta Falcons come in at number 3 for me. And the Falcons may shock you with them being this high. Some of y'all may argue that they don't deserve to be on here, but last season before Kirk Cousins got injured, they did have a high volume of pass attempts. But once Kirk Cousins got injured, they got conservative. They ran the football a lot more because they just didn't trust them. And when Michael Penix came in, despite him having a small sample size, the 3 games that he started, he led all quarterbacks and yards per play, and over 14% of his pass attempts resulted in gains of 15 yards or more. And Michael Penix has a RPG for a left arm. He can fit all kinds of passes into any windows, no matter how small they are. So with his explosiveness and with how dynamic his arm is, you're going to see the Falcons utilize that to their advantage, and they probably are going to be the most aggressive passing attack in the NFL in terms of how many plays they attempt trying to push the ball downfield for 30 yards or more. And the Falcons got a really underrated group of wide receivers. Drake London is coming off the quietest 1,200-yard season that you will ever see from a receiver. Darnell Mooney had a breakout season. Ray McLeod also had a breakout season as well in the slot. We still don't really know about Kyle Pitts, but this is the first time in Kyle Pitts' career that he has played with a quarterback for the second season in his career. So having that chemistry and camaraderie with Michael Penix may be what finally helps him get his career going. But the Falcons probably will have the most explosive passing attack in the league in terms of the amount of big plays that they're going to be able to generate with Michael Penix and that quarterback. He will have a good amount of turnovers, but I feel that's what is expected when you have a quarterback that just has the kind of arm strength that Michael Penix is. He's just going to take a lot more shots than the average quarterback will, and sometimes he'll be able to get away with being a little bit more aggressive, and sometimes it'll cost them, but for the most part, Michael Penix is going to elevate this Falcons passing attack to being the 3rd best in the league this season. The Chicago Bears, like the Atlanta Falcons, you can say that they don't deserve to be on this list. They're way too high, but the reason why I have the Bears having the 2nd best passing attack in the league this year is, for one, you hire Ben Johnson, who is perceived to be the second coming to Sean McVay. He's in that kind of class, is what Kyle Shanahan and McVay were as coordinators, really innovative offensive minds. And you give him a quarterback talent like Caleb Williams. Let's not forget, despite how good Jaden Daniels was, if we could replay that draft without knowing how good Jaden Daniels was going to be as a rookie, majority of everybody still would have picked Caleb Williams number 1 overall. And you saw some of that on display last year with what he can do when things break down outside the pocket. He kind of has like this Mahomes-esque playing style to him. And Ben Johnson can help him reel all of that in. Last year, his rookie season doesn't really count with how bad the coaching was, and the Bears were second to last in passing yards per game. Ben Johnson was calling plays for the 2nd best passing offense in the NFL last year. So with him working with Caleb Williams, we should see him take a drastic increase in productivity and improvement in his 2nd season, especially with the weapons that the Bears have everywhere around them. They got really good receivers. You just drafted Luther Burden to play in the slot. Roma Dunze should have a good second season now that he's going to be the clear-cut number 2 option. He won't have Keenan Allen digging away at some of his targets. And we already know how much of a monster DJ Moore is, especially after the catch. But the tight end position is incredibly underrated. Colston Loveland is like the great value brand version of Brock Bowers. You can line him up in the slot. He's also, I think he's a decent blocker. Not as good as what Brock Bowers is, but he's decent. But you still do have Cole Kmet, who the Bears recently gave an extension to not too long ago, and he's a pretty good tight end. And the offensive line has improved as well. And although Ben Johnson was a guy who liked to play complementary football, mixing the run in the pass, I don't think the Bears' rushing attack is going to be that good this year. DeAndre Swift is just an average back to me. And I feel this is more of an offense that's going to be pass heavy than it will be run heavy. And that's why I can see them being second when it comes to passing efficiency this year. And number one, we already know the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, when your defense is as bad as what Cincinnati's is going to be this year, the only way you're going to have a chance of staying alive this year is by just going toe-to-toe with everybody, airing the football out. And that's why they decided to keep Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And they did that for a very good reason, because they know that this season is going to come down to them being able to outscore everybody. The run game will be there. Chase Brown is a really good back, but with that defense, you don't really want to try to run the football that much, because you don't even want to waste time with that. You're just going to have to try to put up 30, 40 points per game. The Bengals last year led the NFL in pass attempts, and they should once again be in that department this year, because Joe Burrow's playing the best football that he ever has. And if the Bengals would have made it to the playoffs last year, he probably would have won the MVP, over 40 touchdowns. And this season, we could see Joe Burrow maybe break the single season record for touchdown passes in the season, which I think is like 55 or 56. Peyton Manning set that record back in 2013, 2014, I believe. So we could definitely see Joe Burrow have that kind of season. With how bad that defense is going to be, you're going to have no choice but to get into a bunch of shootouts once again. So these are my top 5 passing offenses for the 2025 NFL season. Let me know which ones you disagree with, who should be off this list, who you will replace.